Good morning, everyone. This is Nosheen Mukhtar, and you're watching the Business Excellence Show. I'm live today with my wonderful friend Felmming Rontved.
Good
I'm sure you've
morning.
been waiting. Good morning, Fleming. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been out running in this beautiful winter Dubai,
Uh
totally
huh.
cold, I think.
Yeah. No, it's one of the loveliest winters. Seriously, I have enjoyed it, and I'm still enjoying it. And I believe it's going to be a little bit longer than last year, and we will have lovely weather for a long time.
Yeah, maybe you love the cold. I don't. I normally come from a cold country.
I
And and,
know.
and, and, and you can say 3, 4 years ago, I was running in shorts and t-shirt in -5 degrees
Oh
and
my
so
God.
on. It goes very fast. And now I think
Uh-huh.
it's cold.
Uh-huh. No, then this is not cold for you. This is spring for
It,
you.
it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. But also, I've been exercising this
Uh-huh.
morning, doing a lot of, different things, stretching my body. It's very
Uh-huh.
important.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, of course. So, a very good morning to all our viewers. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I believe that you will enjoy and participate in today's conversation. To begin with, I'm encouraging all my friends to introduce themselves and talk about how their winter is going. Did they enjoy the winter holidays? And what else do they want to talk to us about today related to corporate culture? Because last week, we closed on a note that we are going to discuss various strategies for building and sustaining corporate culture in this episode. And this is what we are going to talk about today. And we want your input. So stay put with
Yeah.
us. Keep on commenting and sharing your views. Do let us know about your experiences so that we are able to discuss with you more, go in depth with you about corporate culture, and talk about things that can make things work for you.
Yes, the more questions, the better. We always love questions because it's expanding or exposing a lot of things.
Yes,
So
true.
the more questions, the better. So jump in, ask your questions. That's great. That's good.
Okay,
So, oh,
before we start, we have one
yes.
question. One very
Okay.
interesting question from someone, which is great. We are getting questions right in the beginning. Morning, how are you? All right, so here we go. Here we go. So, how do you deal with a
Yeah.
narcissistic boss and all other corporate politics?
Yes. How do you do that? A narcissistic boss and all corporate policies.
Yeah.
First of all, what I learned when I was a leader in the bank is that you need to follow corporate policies. If you don't
Hmm.
follow corporate policies, you can get fired. It's very
That's
easy.
like that's equivalent to one plus one equals two.
Yes. So a narcissistic boss. I think I got one when I was a leader in the bank because
Okay.
uh, in the beginning we had the finance crisis and so on and so on. So you just started doing things in the best possible way to reduce losses and so on. But that was not always company policies.
Right.
That was the reason I got fired. I saved money for the bank, but I didn't follow company policies. So
Yeah.
it was easy for them to fire me and take away my identity. And
So
when
it
you're
was easy
talking
for
about
you.
what?
Yes, and it was easy for you to realize it that there are consequences if you do not familiarize yourself
What
and
I
you do
learned,
not
what
abide
I
by the
learned is,
policies.
yes, what I learned is that if I'm not following company policies, I need to make emails and get confirmations. Because
Yeah.
if I got that, and it was not only verbal, if I got the confirmation, okay, fine, I'll just send you an email and you're confirming that what I'm doing is okay, then,
Yeah.
there was nothing to discuss. I just follow
Right.
orders.
Right. Wow.
So I learned that everything, if it was not following company policies, it needed to be in writing through emails and confirmation.
Yes. So what I gather from this is it's very important for all employees to have smooth communication flow, and
Yes,
before deciding, like before making decisions and taking steps, they need to get approvals and confirmations,
yes,
and they need to, and above all of this, above before taking actions, they need to understand company policies and their rules and regulations completely, so that they do not end up making mistakes that will get them fired.
yes. The other part is narcissistic boss. If we know narcissistic people, we also know that no matter what we do, we can never satisfy them.
We can
So
never.
I could speak days or weeks about narcissistic people, but those people are people who are putting themselves first all the time. You can even I even had a narcissistic partner, or have met several narcissistic people, and the part here is that you'll never be able to satisfy those people.
Hmm. Okay.
But what can you do, because you will not be the only one who got this problem, will you?
Yeah. No.
No, because if it's a manager, leader, boss,
Yeah.
then you have the whole team. And if you
Hmm.
can gather the whole team and take a conversation with the HR manager about solving this issue, then change will arrive.
Right.
I know
Do
that.
you, do you think, Fleming? Do you think that if we have, if we are on the defensive, like,
Yes,
we avoid saying all the wrong things just to be
yes,
on the defensive, and then we
yes,
avoid getting into longer arguments where we
yes.
already know that we are going to get kicked, and if we are fact checking everything before speaking when the narcissist boss is around, and when we are not empowering those who do not deserve it, and when we are not feeding his ego, and we are just minding our business, we can survive better with such a boss. Do you think these things will work?
I would say that when you have a narcissistic boss, most of the time is discussions. Just get the info. What is it exactly you want, dear boss? What do I have to do?
Right.
And then get the information of that and then start doing it. And narcissism is very, there's a lot of books about that. And those people, it's said that they can't change. The other part you need to figure out or focus on is your own happiness and well-being.
Right.
Because if you're having a narcissistic boss and you'll never ever be able to satisfy that person, you get
Yeah.
sick.
You
You
get
get
sick.
sick.
So this
So
brings me back to your previous statement that we need to set boundaries.
yes, because am I going to accept this? Because I will get frustrated, and I can't. Where's my mental? Where can I release that? And now we're coming to something essential, because at the smoking area or at the water cooler, in every single organization, a lot of things are discussed.
Right, right. So
And
that brings me to, sorry to cut you short. I got excited when you mentioned water cooler. So I was like, okay, let's talk about water cooler now. So why is it important for every organization to have the water cooler concept?
the water cooler is where everything is discussed, or the smoking area is where everything is
Yeah.
discussed. So sometimes when I'm consulting an organization, I'm standing by the water cooler because that's where I'm hearing the truth.
Yeah,
That's
because
where,
all those things that cannot be said inside other premises that are more
yes,
formal can be said in the water cooler room, especially
yes,
the smoking area.
yes. And I was in a country where I didn't understand the language, and the part here is that I heard drama queen, and I heard because that couldn't be translated into their language. So this was an English word for the drama queen and other stuff like that. And then I just approached them with it. Wow, what are you discussing?
Oh my God, seriously. All right.
So then I got information. We're actually touching something very essential when we're
Yeah.
talking company culture, because company culture is like a personality. Company
Exactly.
culture is like, a suit you're wearing in the moment you're opening the door. And I was for preparing for this, I was looking into um, an article from Harvard Business Review talking about Edna, who got
Okay.
troubles in year 2000, and they were merging with an American company because.
Right.
But the part here is that the culture actually forced out the CEO because he failed to change it. Edna's
Oh,
leader could make little headway against it, and one CEO was forced out after failing to change it.
so may I ask something? What kind
Yes.
of change was needed at that time? What
The
kind of
problem
change?
was here that Aetna was merging with US healthcare,
All right.
and they had a merger.
Right.
And Aetna was also having a lot of trouble because they were mainly focusing on in that. Um, what Aetna's management didn't recognize was that you can't trade your company's culture in as it were a used car for all its benefits and blemishes.
Yeah.
The other part is that things needed to change. Aetna's or employees skeptical prepared for yet another. They got a new CEO for yet another exhausting effort to transform the culture into an efficient growth machine.
Right.
But here they actually got a surprise. The problem for Aetna was that they were focusing on reducing claims and stuff like that. And actually, it was a 150 years old company.
Right.
Uh, but when they hired this new guy in the 2000, John W. Rowe, what he did,
Right.
he didn't just walk in with a new strategy and try to force a culture shift to achieve it. Instead, right
Right.
from the start, he started to talk, to visit, take time to visit the troops, to take time to visit all the employees, to understand their perception and their perspective, and involve them in the planning. With other members of the senior team, they sought out employees at all levels, those who were well connected, sensitive to the
Right.
company culture, and widely respected, to get their input on the strategy as well as their views on both the design and execution of intended process changes.
So this means people are important and their views matter a
What
lot
he
more
did was
more than anybody's ego.
absolutely,
Yeah.
he started to connect with the energizers, the influencers to understand, and he found that uh, he identified Aetna's biggest problem, a strategy that focused narrowly on managing medical expenses to reduce the cost of claims while alienating the patients and physicians that
Right.
were key to Aetna's long-term success.
Okay.
So they had as surfaced a significant culture strength, a deep-seated concern about patients, providers, and employers, underlying pride in the history of and purpose of the company, and so on. But actually, if I want to change the culture, I would say, and not a culture transformation. That's a very big word. I will
It
talk
is.
about a culture renovation, because as a leader, you need to find what is working, what is not working.
And what's not working. And then devise something new that would fit in better.
Yes,
Will
and
have
the thing
everybody fit in. Yeah.
yes, the thing's not working, you need to replace. So you need to understand, are the values of the company and so on clearly defined? The purpose, the vision, the mission, are those clearly defined, or they're just hanging on the wall, as we talked about last time?
Yeah,
You need
true.
to understand the culture today. And how can you understand the culture today? Only by
Exactly.
visiting the troops like the Aetna CEO did. He needed to find the people and talk to them, the influencers, the energizers. We also know in organizations we have 15% who is influencers and energizers. We have 67% who's just coming to get the salary,
Exactly.
and we
Exactly.
have about 18% who is destroyers,
Oh,
unsatisfied, like the narcissistic guy.
yeah.
You
Who
would see.
intentionally feed themselves on negative thinking, and intentionally keep their motivation level low.
Yeah, the point is that if you have a narcissistic boss
Yeah.
and nobody knows that, because the CEO may sit up on the top and have one perception of the organization,
Right.
which is that the vision, the mission, the strategy is clearly defined, it's lived, it's highly effective teams, and the receptionist may have a totally different perception because we are, and if we don't talk together and communicate, if we're not having a speaking up environment, what will happen? There's no reporting. That's another part.
Yeah. And
You,
and then
for,
you know the communication, the quality of communication. If it is like you said, if it is one man's authority and he is controlling everything, the quality of communication will decline. People will stop sharing ideas. People will
yes,
stop sharing new concepts that could be used to improve not just the environment, not just the corporate culture, but also the performance of the corporate.
absolutely. Because if you take an organization and you have people who can only follow orders,
Yeah.
you're stopping their creativity and their innovation. And every time they become creative and innovative and report a way to do things differently, they are blocked. How many times it's like, sitting in school and the math teacher tells you you'll never learn mathematics, and when he told you
Exactly.
that 5 times, you know you don't need to focus on mathematics anymore because you'll never learn it. and
Yeah.
and and, and then you stop focusing on it, so then you'll just become robotic. That's where we've been before. But you
Exactly.
need, if you want to do a culture renovation, you need to understand the culture today and
Yeah.
know where to improve. And this is in detail. How
Right.
you need to start interviewing the employees? How do they feel about the culture today? And I say
Right.
feel because now we are feeling. How do we feel about the culture?
Right.
Metrics and data collection. And that's where I have approached several organizations, and they say, we do employee satisfaction surveys every single year, or we do customer satisfaction surveys every single year. And the answers has been the same for the last 10 years.
Right.
And
Yeah.
because people are not speaking up.
People are not speaking up. So I will take in another point made by Saad Yusuf Osmani. And
Mhm.
I stopped you because this is very relevant. He said, please tell me how to deal with orthodox boss. Now, this is the kind of boss who's going to assert things that he has learned in the past and he is unwilling to change them. And he is asserting what he believes on other people. Exactly something that we've been talking about in the last few minutes. So, how do we deal with these things, Fleming?
How do we
I'm
deal with an orthodox boss? The part is
yeah,
that this boss, now he says boss, so he means boss. That's a guy who is giving orders. That's a manager who wants to be in control. That's a manager who knows that this is the only way and nobody can teach me anything. Is that right? I think it's the focus area here. How do we deal with an orthodox boss? Actually, how you have a team. And if you can improve things and you can't reach your boss, can you go above him?
yes,
And I actually do not think that orthodox bosses will survive in the future, especially not
yeah,
in these times, because an orthodox boss will come a blocker. He's a blocker. He got a lot of blind spots. And if you can't speak to him, I would say the organization show had a culture renovation. And what they did was they made huddles, weekly huddles, where everything was discussed. That's an open environment. That's an environment where we can come in with creativity and innovation. And that actually changed their result radically.
right,
And the same for Edna. When the guy moved in year 2000, and started focusing and asking open, curious questions. We have from the US, we have 21 questions scientifically validated where we
Yeah.
can say, I think I work in an organization that lets me fully realize my potential. I am very satisfied with my job. I have the energy to accomplish my daily task. I think I can be myself on the important things. I
Yeah.
feel I'm able to solve the majority of my daily problems. So here we're actually starting talking about feelings and how people feel in the organization. But if people will just say yes to all these questions without telling the truth, how is anything going to change?
Yes,
Because
true. So,
if yes, is micromanagement good? And that's another question. Yes, in the team it is. For me, micromanagement is good. I plan my day every morning. But what is micromanagement? Because what I plan every morning is how much can I outsource to
right.
other people. So micromanagement is good for me to plan my day, and I think it's good for people. But if you as a leader is holding the hands of the employees constantly,
Yeah.
that's what we earlier talked about in It Is a Lot. Because if I go for It Is a Lot, I'm talking
Yeah.
to a person who needs approval all the time, who cannot make a decision. Is that micromanagement?
No, this is support, no?
No, I will say that if I don't delegate with responsibility, if I do not empower people, there is no
Yeah.
creativity and flexibility.
Exactly.
So
So I was
when
about to
I'm
come to this point that micromanagement will not be a mess or a menace if the leaders are focusing on empowering people correctly so that
yes,
people can take responsibilities on their own. So after
yes,
that level of empowerment, still if the managers would want to micromanage, that could be questionable. But in a case where the team needs help and support and is not empowered enough,
yes,
definitely micromanagement is needed. So that varies from case to case scenario.
yeah, but the point is that if micromanagement is giving you a task and controlling you all the time, how do you solve this task? And you do not have delegation with authority. You cannot make any decisions. Everything you do needs to be approved. Then micromanagement is very, very bad
Yeah.
because you are it's like when I delegate a task, I delegate a task to you and say, you know what, we got this assignment, this task. These are the objectives. Please solve it.
Yeah.
Then I'm not doing anything more. Then you come back to me and introduce this assignment and your what you have done.
Right.
And if you need to have approval for everything before you go back to the client, it could be a problem. The other part is that if I say this is shit, this is awful, you and start judging you and criticizing you, I would say this is micromanagement. But if I turned everything around and said, wow, this is super, this is great, this is wonderful, thank you so much. I just have a few questions. Have you thought of what if, how, and where to?
Right.
Then I ask you to go back and improve the task. But I gave you questions. First of all, I gave you a very constructive feedback. I told you this was super good.
Yeah.
And I elevated you. And then
Yes.
I ask you a question, what if and where to and how come about
Right.
some things. And then you can go back and say, wow, I didn't think of that. Thank you so much. You can say, that's great. I'm growing now because now I go back and then I investigate more and more. And then I come back and I will say, wow, again,
Yeah.
go to the client. But this is two different ways of communicating. And if we're going to the Edna case, I think that the guy What he did was actually asking open, curious questions. And he
Exactly.
didn't judge or criticize at all. He was just interested in knowing in detail how employees feel about culture.
Okay.
Because if he doesn't know that, he can't do any changes. He can't identify steps to successful change or maintenance, what to retain or what to leave behind. He couldn't identify that. So there's a lot of things we need to focus on if we want to renovate the culture.
Okay.
We also need to monitor trends and change in the culture through KPIs and metrics.
All
But,
right.
but that was what I said again before the 21 questions. If we don't get the right answers because people are too scared to give the right answers because they fear of firing or they have a fear of retaliation and so on, then we can't do anything.
We can't do anything. So it comes to the point that the leader or the
Yes.
boss needs to eliminate the blocks and
Yes.
allow people to share what they are feeling and thinking so that they are
Yes.
able to make use of their talent and
We
their
had
emotions.
another Absolutely. We had an organization that was actually an organization in the Middle East where we engaged, and the CEO was always every quarter he was going out and talking to the employees, and he
Right.
told them at security and safety doesn't matter no matter what. If you're
Yeah.
seeing something wrong in these areas, you report it directly to me
Yes.
because that was so important for him. And he didn't care. He wanted these information no matter what from the
Yeah.
receptionist, whoever in the organization.
Mm. Mm.
But then the organization was growing and it got a new CEO, and this CEO was not like the same. So now things started changing, not for the
Yeah.
good,
Of course.
because when the organization grows, you can say that if you're not in the company or with the managers or in the boardroom or in the executive department are discussing company culture, if that's not important for you, if top leaders don't believe that creating or improving culture will improve employee experiences and employees' well-being and employees' happiness, there's nothing done. It's not. It's not.
Right.
It's not discussed. It doesn't have a focus. And the other
So,
part, if
yes.
we don't believe that strengthening culture is the pathway to better results, then we're not doing anything in that area. And I think that is the biggest issue about company culture, because company culture can improve innovation and with 300%. Company culture can improve so many things in the moment you believe that this is the pathway to improve business.
True. Absolutely
But
true.
but if you don't believe that and you don't focus on it, people will just be unsatisfied.
They will be unsatisfied. Okay, we have another question that will take us to a totally different direction, and I will have it
Hmm.
here so that we can have more discussion about this. And do keep on sharing your input and your ideas in comments. We are waiting for you to participate. Hamza Hussain asks, why do you think most companies still haven't adopted and set policies to reduce discrimination in workplace environment?
Why? Actually, that's a great question because I see that inclusion. If I'm looking on LinkedIn, if I'm looking in newspapers and so on, everything is talking about inclusion and diversity.
These days, yes.
And so it's something that has focus, but it's apparently not implemented. I don't know where Hamza gets his numbers from, but most companies still haven't adopted and set policies to reduce discrimination in the workplace environment. If I'm focusing in
Hamza,
Denmark,
yeah, I want to intervene for a minute. Hamza, you need to specify perhaps a region So you're talking about which region? Because from where I'm sitting and from where Fleming is sitting, we have sufficient, I must say, effective inclusion policies. And discrimination, I believe, is no longer an issue, at least the workplaces I have witnessed.
Maybe maybe the policies are there, but it's not implemented.
Yeah, then that is a question that goes towards leadership effectiveness and efficacy.
The part is here that we engaged another large company in the Middle East, and here they told us, you can't teach us anything. We got the latest in everything, and no matter what you come with, it's not interesting because we already done it. And the only question I needed to ask was, is it implemented?
Yeah.
And in
Implementation
that,
matters.
yeah, in that company, they had 60 leaders for coaching skills and a week course learning about how to coach employees.
Right.
And after 1 month, 60, I said 60, after 1 month, you had 13 of these 60 people using those skills. And the 47 didn't use them and never would.
And what could be the reason?
Because they were orthodox, perhaps, or because they didn't believe in it, or what are we seeing all the time? One of the things I really want to talk about is stop, pause, expose your thinking,
Yeah,
and establish.
true.
What am I saying here? Because we had the passion workshops, and people came and they got the tools, but I'm sure that only 1/3 of them are using those tools. We even
Exactly.
had people engaging for goal setting, but they engaged that evening or that Saturday, and when we came back, oh, we don't have time. Oh, there's family issues. Oh. So
Yes,
we are
and there
so
were
busy.
excuses.
Yeah, excuses and blame. I think we are so busy to being busy climbing the wrong Mount Everest. If
Yeah,
I
and I
expose,
want to add in. I want to sorry to cut you short again. I'm adding in because it's very relevant. So when it comes to being orthodox and being uh, and resisting to change, it reflects in your decisions. For example, when we were talking to people, the same group of participants about who were learning about unlocking their passion and
yeah,
discovering their true muse, they were like, we don't need to talk about our goals. Oh no,
yes,
this is not for me. This doesn't apply to me because I'm already a business owner. So why should I be sitting and talking about goal mapping? Oh, this
yes,
doesn't apply. So when you start thinking that these things, certain specific things, don't apply to you, what's
yeah,
happening is you're going into a darker cave where you're shutting yourself away from a change that you might be needing, from
yeah.
possibilities that you might be, or your organization or your startup might be in need of.
Of course. But the point is that if you're looking at now, we're talking values, vision, mission in organizations. They're hanging on the wall, and what I think is that when they're just hanging on the wall, and then you don't see them anymore. Yes, they are there, but you don't see them. And when we're looking into, you can say, health, well-being, all that kind of stuff. If I'm looking on
Yeah.
my LinkedIn um, stream, I see 1 million 1 million people talking about all these things. And I actually
Yes.
woke up this morning and said, "Yeah, that's super good." And what is happening for me that is, yeah, this is something I need to work with, but it's next week. I don't have time now, and so on. And in the end, I'm not doing it because of I
Yeah.
don't have the time for it. I become, you can say, numb because it's
Yeah.
everywhere. Can you follow what I'm saying? And the part is that if I don't stop, pause.
Yeah.
and expose my thinking. If I don't stop, I have a thought, I stop, I pause now and take this thought and look at it and expose it. It can be in a company, it can be in my company, it can be wherever. It can be in my personal life, it can be in a team. I
Yeah.
can come with my assumptions as a leader, but I need to expose my thinking for others to reply. I
Yeah.
need to step out of my assumptions and sometimes my impatience. I think humans are the most impatient people in the world. So we have assumptions and we have impatience. So instead of, you can say, we're having a team meeting and we're discussing some things and everybody is contributing and we make a decision, we put in a break of 3 minutes, a disagreement break, where I said this before, where everybody's allowed to come with their disagreement. And then it becomes, you can say, legal, because everybody needs to disagree.
It becomes a healthy debate then, no? Because everybody is saying yes where yes needs to be said and is saying no where no is valid. But everybody's level of validity might, or understanding of validity might vary.
Yeah. So if when we have meetings, we need to expose our thinking. We need to pause. Otherwise, we can't, you know, like we did the passion. When we did the passion, you lined up 50 possibilities. You
Yeah.
didn't criticize, judge, and take them away. In comes an idea, stop judging, criticizing, out. No, you lined up 50 options, and those 50 options you started evaluating.
Right.
Okay, number one, that sounds great, according to number two. And then I choose number one. Okay, number one to number three. Okay, then I choose number three. And so here we had, you can say, a lot of options, and we started prioritizing these options.
Right.
And thinking about, okay, in the passion part, it was what makes my life beautiful, what makes my life healthy, what makes my life happy. And I lined up 50 things, and then I can start finding one thing that actually starts doing that out of the 50.
Okay.
But I gave
Yes.
myself 50 options.
Yeah. So the benefit of giving yourself 50 options is
The benefit of giving myself 50 options, that's how you can say nature works. That's
right.
how every humans doesn't work in that way. We are brought up to criticize and judge immediately. We're
Right.
in a,
Right. Right.
and especially in this world today, which are so fast paced, we need to make a lot of decisions. So in pops an idea just out. But that idea could be good, but we're not lining up. It's like when you're dreaming, you're
Right.
creating.
You're creating, yeah. And there are no limits. Like
And there are
your
no limits.
dreams could take you anywhere.
It
So
can
even
take you
50.
anywhere, but you allow yourself that when you dream.
Exactly.
You're not
That's the point.
judging. You're just dreaming, and then out comes a great story because your brain is just creating a lot of things.
Yeah, and it's in its own flow. There is no
It's,
check.
yeah, it is. And there's no judgment, there's no criticizing, there's no all that kind of stuff. That's good. And that's actually, you can say that that's where you
Yeah.
bring yourself back to a 5-year-old. When
Hmm.
you're
So do you
dreaming, you're
think?
yep,
So do you think, Fleming, when the leaders are allowing their teams to share without checks everything, think in multiple dimensions,
yes,
express what they are thinking, and reserve the right to disagree, they are actually fostering a healthy corporate culture.
I think so. When we open up for things and what is working and we agree in the team that this may be the way. We have had organizations where we actually work with sales teams, and they were so so unhappy with restrictions and policies and so on. So okay, fine, we said. how do you want it to be?
Right.
If you are selling products or services, what do you think would be the best way? Because they said they don't understand the Middle East culture. They don't understand la 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 la. It was an international company. So then sit down and construct the way you think it has to be as a team, where everything would become a lot easier for you, and then
Yeah.
introduce that to the management.
Right.
That's creativity and innovation.
Absolutely true.
So when you do that, a lot of things will happen because actually you start dreaming, or not dreaming, but you're still realistic, and then you start focusing on, okay, fine, if we were setting the agenda, if we were making the policies and so on, then it would be great if it was like this and this and this, and then you can make the
Right.
plan.
Right. Okay, I have a question which is entirely different from what we're talking about, but since we have discussed a lot till here, there is another issue at workplaces of bullying. So this
Yes,
issue,
absolutely it
does
does.
workplace bullying affect productivity? Yes, it does. If the employees, and how can one overcome it considering the person is dependent on their job? So this is, you mean what a victim should do when he is experiencing bullying and he cannot quit because he needs the job?
Bullying is a very broad. Um,
Yeah.
Bullying is it can be racism, it can be discrimination, it
Okay.
can be a lot of things. But have you actually, for me, when we're talking bullying, in school, I was the guy who was put on the hanger. I was the guy who was getting my trousers wet. I was the guy. We had snow in Denmark. Every time it was snowing, my face was washed in snow. And those were by larger, stronger people, physically larger, stronger. Here, I couldn't do anything. Yes, I could go to my teacher, and my teacher could do something perhaps, but that didn't solve anything when I was going to school. Here, I think, are people aware of their bullying you? Have you told them this is not okay? What I do today is that when if I'm in an environment where you think blondine jokes is good, I will tell you to stop because I don't think that's good. Uh,
Right.
are we taking responsibility? Because we're actually touching something very, very important. If we're sitting at a dinner party with 10 people and somebody is telling a discriminating joke, are we stopping the guy? Are we telling him, you know what, we don't want to hear that? Or are we just
Yeah.
laughing at his joke? So if we don't tell people it's not okay, then they don't know.
Right.
That's one of the things. So if I'm bullied, what can I do about it? Am I bullied in the team? Am I bullied by the manager? Or whatever? But it absolutely affects my productivity because I'm not energized.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
put down. So I'm not happy.
Right.
And if I can start worrying, and if I give this space, this can grow very, very big in my head.
True.
So I need to do something about it. So what is the bullying and where is the bullying? Is it from team members? Is it from, you know, the
Right.
boss or the manager?
Yeah. So what I feel, from what I've gathered from you, Fleming, is that if a person is experiencing some level of bullying at the workplace, they need to identify the source and the trigger. They need
Yes,
to recognize if they are the victim, or and they also need to determine whether they want to stay the victim or do something about it. And once
yes.
they decide to do something about it, they need to set up a strategy to report it, to control it, to 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 remove it from their lives.
Yes,
And I
yes.
think that it depends a lot on victim what he decides to allow, to let happen to
Again, we're
him.
talking boundaries. Again, we're talking
Exactly.
boundaries. Do I allow this, or do I want to
Exactly.
speak up?
Do I let this
So
happen to me?
yes, can I report misconduct or can't I report misconduct? What will happen if I report the misconduct or the bullying,
Exactly.
which is the misconduct? So,
So
so do
in
I?
a workplace, everybody is an adult, and everybody
Yes,
has experiences. They are no
yes,
longer school children. So I believe that it depends a lot on the person who's experiencing it to determine what he's going to do about this and how he's going
absolutely.
to handle it.
Yes, I don't accept it. But you can say 10 years ago, I accepted this.
Hmm.
And I'm
Right.
not accepting people putting guilt and shame on me.
Yeah.
I'm not accepting. I got a phone call from a guy and I didn't answer. Last time I was talking to you, he was calling my phone and I didn't answer. And then I I forgot it. And 2 days later, I went back to the guy and then he said, I asked him, "You called me. What can I do for you?" Oh, that's 2 days ago, so it doesn't matter. Oh, what did he do? He put guilt on me. You didn't respond to me 2 days ago, so now it doesn't matter. Now you need to be ashamed.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm not going to be ashamed. So if you want my help or you want something from me, then you need to open your mouth.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I think that people are very good at putting guilt and shame on other people. And if we accept it because we are people pleasers, we will be in trouble.
Yes, so
But if we are,
people cannot treat you in a certain way if you do not want to be treated that way. So you need to tell this to yourself first.
people
That's
can
the point,
only
right?
bully you if you allow them to do that.
Exactly. So set your boundaries.
Yes. So what I'm saying many times is that a lot of people may send a lot of errors, but I can only brush them off.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's none of my business, and their arrows is telling more about them than they are telling about me.
Yes. So you can brush it off easily. All right,
Yes.
let's move on to the next topic. Another question from Mateen Hamza is about team management. Do you think that efficient and strategic team management determines the culture of a workplace? Do you think that remote team management and diversity in remote teams affects a workplace culture? These questions I formed on the basis of this question.
Wow, that's a large question.
It's
How to
very
handle a
broad, yeah.
remote team globally with diverse cultures within their own offices in different countries. So we're talking about a global company who have offices where people are coming in with different culture,
Yes.
but they
And the
are remote
managers,
now because you
yeah,
can't fly in. They are now remote. It's like, you have a branch of an international company here in Dubai, and in Dubai you have 53 different nations in the office.
yeah,
How are you? Before you could fly in and then you could do something or could have a conversation. Now you need to do it remote. So how do you do that? How to handle remote teams? It's not different than earlier. It's all about conversation and speaking up and asking questions.
right. And
So if
also sharing codes of conduct and policies so that people are able to follow and communicate with each other and with the bosses accordingly. That solves it.
what you can do is actually, and that's been done for a long time, even before COVID-19, is that you Skype. That means that you have a remote team somewhere in the world. It could be IT developers or whatever, uh, or a sales department, and then you just Skype with them, and you can Skype with them, or you can Zoom with them and give them their voice.
Right.
Uh, Again, we have an objective, we have a challenge. As a leader, you'll ask the team in the space or in the region or in the country, What do you think? What is the
See,
issues? What is the objections? What is the challenges? How do we solve this? And to ask them to come in with their, you can say, creativity.
yeah, no, my point is, let me state it very easily. My point is, see, we have offices, let's say we have employees in different countries. So each
Yes,
employee come from a different country with a different culture of his own. So what the
yes,
corporate can do is determine a common culture that applies to all employees all across the world. And that
yeah,
saves it. That saves it
yeah,
because that becomes the Bible everybody follows and saves everybody's neck.
yeah. But then you also have the company culture. You have it's
Yeah.
like me going into a company and I put on the code of the company culture, because that is so strong. And
Yes.
I work I may come from India, I may come from Africa or whatever, but here there is a clear company culture. There is a clear defined purpose, vision, mission, value. There's a
Yes.
clear defined way how we treat each other. There's all that kind of stuff. And then when I open the door, I put on the code. It doesn't matter where I come from. It's the company culture here. I can't bring in the way I think is done
Exactly.
in Africa, or the way things is
Of
done in
course.
Denmark. I
Yes,
need to
of
bring
course.
in the company culture, which needs to be defined clearly with purpose,
Yes.
vision, mission, values. I can't
Exactly.
go in and be corrupt. I may be corrupt. I don't know if I'm in my home country. I may be corrupt in my family, but
Yeah.
in the company, which has integrity as one of the most, exposed values, I absolutely need to follow that. And now we are again talking about something, because I don't
The
think that
values.
that
Yeah.
I don't think that there is business ethics. I think there is only ethics.
Right.
But me as a person, I have a role, but I still have my values, ethics. I still have my
Exactly.
value, integrity. But it doesn't matter if I'm at work, or I'm a family father, or I'm in the football club, or where
Yeah.
I am.
Right.
I'm still having integrity. I'm not compromising myself, because then I start getting confused. Because here in this environment, I can be corrupted. Here in this
Yeah.
environment, and so I'm the same all the time. Can you follow what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yes.
But I have
Yes.
different
Absolutely.
roles and different vocabulary and different ways of engaging.
Yes. True. True. You've explained it very well for me. It's amazing. So, from the
Okay.
audience, we are looking forward to get more questions from your side, uh, as we have 7 more minutes for this episode. So, please share your queries, your questions, your ideas related to corporate culture and how we can help you adjust in different kinds of cultures that you find around yourself when you are moving jobs and your workplaces. So, Fleming, what's the most interesting part from your experiences? Let's say, let's share an idea about one of the companies you worked with where you found the most strong corporate culture.
One of You can say, I would rather say that we went into different, even countries, but also companies, where we started transforming with values, because values is differently understood according to where you come from. And you can say you can have a value of care, and then it needs to be defined from the boardroom, the C-suite. And for us, we're working with 45 plus values. So we would, under care, put 9 different values, and then we'll start rolling out and raising awareness of value. So the understanding, the you could say policy, what is care in this organization, and it's worldwide. What is care? What has the boardroom said? What is care? And then we start rolling it out in the whole organization, all over the world, 100,000 people. and saying we have this value called care, and here we understand that this value is looking like that, and this we want to plant in the hearts and minds of the people. So here we have a value with characteristics, benefits, and ways to follow to start implementing that value. So now we
Yeah.
put the value care in this organization, and we have weekly huddles where 5 to 10 people are meetings and reading a text about value and filling out a box. And in these groups of 5 to 10, we learn a lot about each other. It's an inside out learning, it's a two-way communication in a structured way. So here we raise the awareness of what is it actually the companies think when they are saying care, what is included in care, and how do we live care in this organization. We have posters, we have managers, we have leaders who's aware of that, and people are rewarded. And you can say that I can sit in Denmark or in Switzerland or in South Africa, and this week we were talking about attitude. And I'm
Right.
talking with you, and then we are talking about attitude too, and so on. So here we have raising awareness of value in general, and especially what is the mission, purpose, and it's totally implemented because everybody now gets the characteristics, the benefit, and the way to actually put that into your heart and mind.
Right. Right.
So that's where we actually have changed. We have changed Paraguay, Costa Rica, Guatemala from the president down. We have
Right.
changed a lot of organizations all over the world
Hmm.
by
Hmm.
implementing values and raising awareness of values. And if I'm asking you the questions, are values leaving society today, or are values implemented into society today?
They are. They see the values have always been important, both
No, we
in
know them.
workplace and the
We
society,
know them.
and they have been more implemented now recently than before because the situation, the workplace scenario, the workplace traditions
I don't, I,
changed
don't- I don't,
with
I
COVID
don't agree
19.
with I don't agree with you because we had a
No.
question about racism. We had a question about bullying. We had, we had a question that that tells me that values are not implemented. That people are emotionally driven. We saw the Fort
Right.
George happening in U.S. We saw municipalities torn down.
Hmm.
We saw
Hmm.
demonstrations. That is emotion speaking in, in my understanding.
Okay,
If
so
we
it means
understood,
that we still need to implement values more
yes,
forcefully.
if we understood the values, we would have a
Hmm.
communication. We don't
Right.
need to do protesting. We don't need to smash buildings and tear down statues.
Yeah.
We can actually talk and communicate. If
Yes.
you're looking
Yeah.
at UAE, we have Sheikh Zayed, His Highness Sheikh Zayed, and everybody
Yeah.
knows him for generosity.
Right.
We have tolerance that's communicated, but it may not be lived.
Right.
But that's communicated from the leadership, and that's the way they make decisions in UAE. But still, we have a guy calling about racism and calling about bullying.
Yeah.
So it may not be implemented and lived.
Hmm.
In the
Okay.
moment we stand on values, we have to also understand that rights are reduced.
Hmm.
You follow what I'm saying now? The higher you
Yes.
grow in an organization, the less rights you have, because now you become a role model. A family
Hmm.
father is a role model for his children. A school teacher is a role model for the children in school.
Hmm.
So what comes out of their mouth and their values is role modeled by the people surrounding them. Like saying that the 5 people surrounding you, are they good or bad? Are they having good values? Are they having bad values? Because that will
Yeah.
and that will values are decision makers. Values are the values. actually tells us what decisions to make in our life.
Right. Okay.
So if we're having people who are making very bad or who's not having very good values, we'll have a very poor life.
Hmm. Yeah, of course. What can happen? Like even if in your personal life you do not have values, your life is going to be a disaster, no? So you need
It
to have
will.
values everywhere.
It will,
How
because
can
if
you
you
live
are,
without values?
yes, but do we know the values? Do we live by the values? Actually, we've been talking boundaries today.
Hmm. Hmm.
You have boundaries. I have boundaries. You have boundaries. How many people have boundaries? How many people can say no?
Yeah. And how many people are willing to set boundaries, healthy boundaries, I mean?
Yes, healthy boundaries. I don't see a lot of people setting healthy boundaries,
Hmm.
but they may be scared of losing what they think they have or what they have.
Yeah.
If I'm saying no, he, she will do this, that.
Right.
So now we are, instead of opening and saying, you know what, I would love to do this, but I can't
Hmm.
because of time or whatever, you'll say, I'll do it. That was how I lived my life for 45 years, trying to please everybody, scared of losing people, and I couldn't say no.
Hmm.
But when you actually say yes to a lot of things you don't do them, you become untrustworthy.
Yes, because people will stop having faith in you. They will understand that you're just saying for saying sake, and practically you're nothing.
Yeah, so here it would be a lot easier for you to have boundaries and say no, 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 no.
Hmm.
But you don't say no, and then you have a problem.
Yes.
And it is much better to say no
Hmm.
than to say yes if you're not going to deliver.
Right. True. True. Absolutely right. All right. Thank you so much for today, Fleming. It was an extremely insightful discussion. I enjoyed speaking with you and I enjoyed the interaction with the audience as well. We look forward to the next episode. Please let me know what we are going to talk about next.
Absolutely. What are we going to talk about?
You're caught off guard.
Yes. What are we going to talk about? Health, well-being,
Well being. Okay.
actually
Let's
your
talk about
body.
well being. Yeah.
Yeah. What is well-being, and why is everybody talking about it? What is diversity? What is inclusion? And is it lived out there? But if I'm asking the questions, what is inclusion? What is
Hmm.
diversity? What is
Hmm.
well-being? I would love you to put up some, polls on my LinkedIn because I don't get a lot of response from my listeners. Sorry for saying that, listeners,
Oh
but
yeah, you need to. You guys need to respond to what we are posting because we need this in order to decide for the next conversation that all of
yes,
us are going to have together live on LinkedIn.
yes, we will start doing some polls, and we need you to answer those polls. Because as I said, this morning I was looking on a lot of posts on LinkedIn, and they had a lot of likes. That's okay for me. I don't look at my likes. But what I'm saying is that, are we living it?
Participation.
Are we
Yeah,
living it? Is it implemented in our life? Because people post a lot of good things up there, but how do we implement it?
exactly.
How do we live it? Or do we just become numb to these things?
Okay. Yes.
Great, good.
All right. Thank you so much, Fleming. Have a great day and stay in touch.
Have a
Take care,
great day.
everybody.
Have a great week.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.